Hi, everyone. Welcome to part two. I want to go over the second stanza in the poem this time. But I want to mention up front that if you haven't seen the previous video, please go watch it first because the first stanza in that video, I describe a lot of things that I'm not going to reiterate through every single video that I do. And there's a lot of information in there that you really need to know. So please don't skip the first video. So let's get going with this stanza. This, of course, has not one sentence, but two sentences. And this contains the first clue based on what Forrest Fenn has told us. Begin it where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Put in below the home of Brown. Okay, so just like we did in the first video, the first thing we're going to do is let's locate the verbs that we have because that'll help us find the subjects. The first verb that we have is begin. Okay, so let's keep looking for other verbs. Oh, okay. Looks like we have another verb here, halt. And we got another verb here, take. And this one here, we have a verb called put. Now, I'm going to make a change to this when we get down here, and I'm going to explain why. But for starters, let's start up here. So there are all the verbs that we have in our poem so far, just based on first look, right? We got begin, we got halt, we got take, and then we got put. It's the subject. So, okay, I'll move it over a little bit. So there we go. This verb is an imperative. Now, while we're on that subject, we have the same situation down here because put is an imperative telling somebody to do something. At least two of those verbs are implicitly defining the subject to be you. So right off the bat, even though this is 4 poem lines long, it looks like he's only got 2 instructions. Possibly 3 because he has take it. Take is the third verb. At most, we would have 3 instructions. But that's not exactly the way it's working here, and I'll explain that in a minute. So let's continue what we were doing before. Okay, so we're looking for the nouns now, or the subjects. So we go through here now, and obviously this is the subject. This is who is being told to begin. Okay, so that's subject for that verb. What about this verb here? Okay, it doesn't have an object. It's just halt. It's but its subject is before it because he's saying begin it where warm waters. Okay, so waters, this plural noun, is the subject. Begin it where warm waters halt. Okay, so where the waters halt, he wants us to begin it. All right, sounds good. We have down here, we got, we got another noun here, the canyon, home, the home. It's another noun. This could possibly be a noun, but it's not. It's not. And I know a lot of people are going to say, yeah, but it's capital and proper nouns are capitalized. That's half true. There's also something called a proper adjective, and a proper adjective would also be capitalized. But you'll see what I mean as we go down the road. So the home is a noun. So, and then we got, so it looks like we got all of the nouns here. Let's go and look for the pronouns. We have a direct object here, and it's it. It is the pronoun. Remember, it's taking the place of something else. So he's telling us what to begin. Begin it. Okay, we got it again. Take it. He's telling us what to take. This is another direct object. Okay, we got begin it. We got take it. Let's go, and this is where I'm going to go ahead and explain a little bit more. Let's go to the next part and let's look for phrases. So let's look for prepositions first. Again, like we did before. No prepositions there. Aha, we got one here. And it's followed by a noun, the canyon. Okay. The is a determiner, an article. Think of it like an adjective. It's telling us which canyon, the canyon. Now, I want to mention something about articles or determiners here. Another determiner is a. Okay. Now, a means that you're not referring to something specific. It's used before nouns and noun phrases that denote a single but unspecified person or thing. So, in other words, if I said, a dog was running down the street. I'm just saying, just some dog. I don't know which one. It's not important. A dog was running down the street. But if I looked at you and I said, the dog is running down the street, then you would know that I'm talking about a very specific dog. So whenever you see the word the, okay, he's telling you something very specific. The canyon is specific. He's assuming you're going to know it based on the context of your current discussion or what you're currently reading. He's telling you to take it in the canyon, not just any canyon, but the canyon. Okay. So again, that works like an adjective telling you which canyon is it. Okay. So the prepositional phrase is in the canyon. Take it in the canyon. Now remember, that means in the bound zone. He's not saying at the canyon or below the canyon, under the canyon, above the canyon. He's telling you in the canyon. So within the canyon, we don't know how far in or how close we are to the entrance or the exit or where we are, just somewhere in the canyon, physically in there. Take it in the canyon. Down here is also a preposition, but remember that prepositions, if it's a prepositional phrase, if it's being used as a preposition, it'll be followed by a noun. We don't have a noun after it, okay? So that is definitely not a preposition. So in this case, it's an adverb, okay? And that means that it's modifying the verb, take. In the canyon. Which canyon? The one down. So let's keep going here. Not far, but too far to walk. There's another preposition. But is it being used as a preposition? There's a special thing that you have to be aware of with the word to. And this is something else that Forrest is using here for the first time. To is a preposition, okay? It can be a preposition, but it can also be something called an infinitive. And what an infinitive can do is it can take a verb like walk and change it into a noun, but it has to behind it. So is it being used as a preposition or is it being used as an infinitive? Well, if we look at the context that's being used in, it's not being used as a verb. It's clearly being used as a noun because he's not telling us to perform a walk action. In fact, he's doing the opposite. He's using walk as a noun. He's saying it's too far to walk. If I tell you to go for a walk, and in fact, the verb in that sentence would be go. Go take a walk. Okay, so I'm using walk as a noun, which is exactly what he's doing here. So this phrase is not a prepositional phrase. Okay, we can go ahead and undo that because that's not being used as a preposition. What I'm going to do for now is I'm going to go ahead and color the whole thing as a noun because we don't have a color for prepositions. I mean, for infinitives. So, but basically, that's what an infinitive is. It's telling you to treat this as a noun. It's to walk. It's not being used as a verb, and an infinitive could never be used as a verb. An infinitive is only used as an adjective or an adverb, never a verb, or as a noun. Okay? So we can remember that. So that's the first time we're seeing an infinitive. And we've also come across a case where we do not have a preposition. So let's continue down here. We have, here's a preposition, in. Is that being used as a preposition? Well, let's look directly after it. Ooh, we got another word here that can also be a preposition. That don't happen. You don't have two prepositions in a row. One of the things you got to be careful of when you come to a verb is a lot of times you'll be using a verb phrase. And many of you are going to be aware of this already, but the verb is not actually put. The verb is a verb phrase called put in. And one of the uses that everybody in the chase likes to talk about is how a seaman might say that they're going to put in at a dock. Okay. So put in is a verb, or if I said, put in for a job, or, that I'm using a phrase put in. The other thing you got to be aware of are what's called idioms. There's a lot of idioms in the English language, and Forrest so far as I could see, up to this point, hasn't used any idioms. So we're okay there, but you need to be careful of that because a lot of times those are idioms or sayings that people would use, like over the hill. You're over the hill, right? You don't want to interpret that phrase incorrectly. You want to look at the context. Are they using that idiom? Or are they using it as something else? And you need to be really careful of that kind of stuff when you're looking for prepositional phrases, infinitives, verb phrases, and so on and so forth. So we'll go back to it again, and I said before, this is also a preposition. But let's look. Does it qualify? Does it have a noun or a pronoun after it? Yes, actually it does. The home. Home is the noun. Okay. The home. Again, we have a determiner, not just any home, the home. Okay, now remember what I said before again. He's saying the home. It's a specific home that we should be aware of. He's not just saying put him below a home. A home. He's saying the home. Okay. So we should know which home he's talking about. And in this case, home would be like a place of origin. It's not necessarily a house. It could be a place of origin. It could be your country. What's your country of origin? My home country is England or whatever. Okay. It's your place of origin. You could look at it that way too. You really got to pay attention when you're looking at definitions of this stuff. Okay. So below the home. Okay. So that there, again, this saying which home? The home. So we got below the home. That's a prepositional phrase. Oh, look here. Okay, so here we got another one. We got of. That's another preposition. Is it followed by a noun? At first, yes, it is followed by a noun. Brown. And actually, you would say here that this is a proper noun, right? So, yeah, we'll call that a noun for now. But what I want to tell you right now is that phrase is actually being used as an adjective, and it's describing which home. It's giving you more information about the home. So if I said put him below the home, which home? The home of Brown. Okay. So this phrase, this preposition and noun is acting together as an adjective modifying home. So basically, this is a giant prepositional phrase that consists of two prepositional phrases. This one is describing the location or the place to put it, the relation. I think I said this before, but prepositions refer to a location or a place and time. Basically, they show a relationship. This book is above that book. This book is below that book. Okay. To walk. Okay. Here, in this case, to is not a preposition. This is an infinitive. Now, the difference when to is not being used as a preposition, it's in a direction towards, as to reach. Okay. We went to the park. Now that we have that done, let's go and let's look for conjunctions. Okay. Let's look for the fanboys first. Okay. We got one here, but we got ands here. Those are both fanboys. All right. And like I said, fanboys or coordinating conjunctions can be used to join phrases, clauses, words. I'm not going to reiterate that. See the previous video if you want to know what I'm talking about. And the conjunction itself, like the word and as a conjunction and the word but, have different meanings that refer to the relationship between the two things it's joining. Okay. Now let's look for more. Do we have any other more articulated and but? Nope. Okay. Now, in order for me to show you to go on from this point, let me kind of skip over something for now and let's go to adjectives. All right. So as again, this I said is being used as an adjective and it's referring back to the home. Below which home? The home. The home of Brown. Okay. Warm. Okay. Warm is an adjective. Okay. And of course, that's referring to the waters. So now let's do the adverbs. And I don't remember what color I did them in before. I think maroon. So we have this phrase, this prepositional phrase here, actually the whole entire thing, because it's all one unit, is actually referring to the verb. phrase. Put in. Where are we putting in? We're putting in below the home of Brown. And then, of course, when you dig in deeper, it's okay below the home of Brown. Okay, but that whole entire phrase below the home of Brown is operating on the verb. Okay, so it's an adverb. This down is also being used as an adverb, and that's going all the way back and telling you to take it in the canyon. Which direction? It's down. And in the canyon is also an adverb because he's telling you where to take it. Now remember, it's the direct object. So he's telling you, well, okay, take it in the canyon down. So do we have any other adverbs in here or adjectives? We do have more, but this is an adverb. It's modifying far. It's negating far. Far is also an adverb. Okay. So this is modifying this, not far. This is an adverb. It's modifying this far over here, which is another adverb, of course. So that's modifying that. And then, of course, as I said before, this entire infinitive here is acting as a noun. Okay. It's too far. It's not far, but too far to walk. Okay. Basically, what this is saying is that it's not far. So he's negating far, meaning it's near. Okay. It's not far, but it's also not the nearest location because he's telling you, but he's got an opposite to this. It's not far, comma, but too far to walk. Okay. So what he's telling you essentially here is he's saying it's not far, it's near, but it's too far for us to walk to. So he's telling us essentially in this line that he wants us to essentially go to a place that we could walk from. So he's saying, we're going to have to use another means of transportation, basically, is what that part of the poem is telling you. That the distance that you're going to take it, okay? Because this whole entire thing, oops, wrong color. This whole entire thing is modifying take. And it's telling you essentially how far to go. And what he's telling you is it's not far. Don't go to the nearest one, but go to the next one or the next closest place where you're able to walk from. All right. So if you were standing over here, okay, and he wanted to get you down here, and let's say that there was another thing that was up here, okay, and this distance is obviously within walking distance, and then you had another way to go that you would end up at another X. Now these two X's are related. Let's say that this is a stream or a river or something like that, and he's got you over here. And what he's doing is he's making sure he's telling you that it's near, but it's not near enough that you have to walk. So if there's a parking lot right here, obviously he wants you to go back to your car, get out in your car, and drive to the nearest place that you could walk to get to the same creek or river or lake or whatever. So he's telling you, don't go to the near one, go to the next nearest one where you're able to walk from. And he's implying that you have to drive. And that goes back to a hint that he gave somebody where somebody said, if I know where the home of Brown is, can I reverse engineer where Warm Waters Halt? And Forrest Fenn said something like, sure, if you're willing to have your partners chip in more gas money. And what he was getting to is if you already know where this spot is, when you started here, why on earth would you need to reverse engineer it? Okay, why would you drive back there and go there and figure that out when you're already here? So the fact that he discussed gas is a hint. So that's basically what not far but too far to walk means. This whole entire thing, okay, this whole entire phrase is modifying take. And he's telling you how far to take it. Not far, okay, but too far to walk. All right. Now let's go back and look at the rest of the conjunctions here, because you'll notice that there's one word left that I didn't describe yet, and that's where. Where is another conjunction, and this is for subordinating clauses. Now, this is important here, okay? Let me explain something here, because the next step that we're going to break everything down into clauses. And I'm going to do the first one, which is simple. This, obviously, this sentence down here is a complete sentence. It's an independent clause. It stands on its own. This ends the sentence up here, but it's period. So we got two sentences in the stanza. So that's done. Okay. The subject is you. The verb is put in. And where are we putting in? We're putting in below the home. Which home? The home of Brown. Okay. So that's telling you where to put in. So what we're doing is going to be below the home of Brown. All right. Now let's go and let's break this other sentence up into clauses. All right. Remember, a clause has to have a noun and a verb, or a main subject and a verb, and it needs to make sense and stand on its own. And here it is. This is our first clause. Remember, I said it's an imperative. It's an instruction. I'm looking at you and I'm saying, okay, begin it. Okay, start now. Do it now. Begin it. Start it. Run now. Do it. That's an independent clause. Stands on its own. Independent clause. And that makes sense because we have a subordinating conjunction here called where. So let's look at that. We know we're looking for a clause, so we need a noun and a verb. Okay, here's our noun. Here's one of the verbs. Then we have a conjunction that's joining another verb. And now this is important. Please, pay attention here to what I'm showing you. So this conjunction and coordinating conjunction is basically joining these two verbs. We have a single clause here, and it's a dependent clause. All right. That entire thing is a dependent clause. And because there's no comma here, it's really clear that this conjunction is joining halt and take, both verbs. What he's doing here is this verb, the subject of this verb is actually the waters. Okay? It's not you. It's not you like he has here. He's telling you where to begin it. He's saying, begin it where warm water's halt and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. So that whole thing is describing a location. Now, let me just give you an example of how that would work. For example, warm waters could be said to halt in a tub or in a basin, right? When you fill a tub or a basin with water, they halt as long as you have the stopper in there, okay? If you remove the stopper, the basin is then going to drain into something that's going to take it down into the sewers. In this case, it's going down into the canyon. So we would have a perfect scenario here would be a basin, for example, because the warm waters are halting in a basin. Now, a lot of people like Yellowstone, so let's say it's a geyser basin, okay? So the warm waters are halting in that basin. And the important thing is it's forming something there, a pipe, a river, a creek, something that is taking it in the canyon down, not far, but too far to walk. He's not even telling you where the that vessel, let's call it, is or what it is yet. And I'm going to get to that when we get to the next stanza. But basically, we have begin it where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Not far, but too far to walk is telling you how far that it's going to take it. Okay. And then where warm waters halt and take it in the kind of the entire thing is telling you where to begin. You know what I mean? So basically, begin it where. Now remember, this is the only other place that we have the word where. We see it in the first stanza, and he says that he keeps his secret where in there. Okay. So without getting too far ahead of myself, I believe that this is where a lot of people get hung up in the poem because they don't know where is. And warm water salt to take it in the canyon down, not far, Homa Brown, all of this stuff here is far too vague. And this is why Forrest Fenn said you have to know where to start. If you don't know where to start, you don't have anything. So basically, this is telling you begin it. Well, where do I begin it? Well, you begin it where warm water salt taken in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Again, he's not telling you to take it. He's telling you that the warm water salt and take it in the canyon down. Okay. Not far, but too far to walk. All right. So that's our first sentence. It's an independent clause linked with a dependent clause using the subordinating conjunction where. And then our second clause is just a single sentence, stands on its own. And that's also a directive. So even though I think there are 4 clues in here, the first clue would be this, second clue would be this, third clue would be this, and then the fourth clue, of course, would be the Homa Brown. But the only things he's telling you to do is giving you a starting location. He's telling you where to begin it. But he doesn't want you to do anything other than go to the put in spot. Because he's basically telling you right up here that it's too far to walk, and he wants you to go to the nearest place to walk. So he's essentially defining where the Homa Brown is. Essentially, the Homa Brown would encompass this entire area up here. And he's telling you to put in below that area, put in below the Homa Brown. He's defining the Homa Brown. So in the context where this is, it needs to be relevant to below the Homa Brown in some way or form or fashion. So again, the directive here is you begin it, and then you are going to put in. You're going to begin it where warm water salt and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Okay. So not the nearest spot and not the furthest spot, but the closest place that you're able to walk from. And right here, he's got the word far twice. So you would assume a not far, but too far. So the second one, okay? So you're going to leave, go to the parking lot. You're going to drive from here, and then get to the one that's close enough that you could walk to, but it's too far from the starting position. If you understand what I mean, you are here where you're beginning it. Okay, the place that he wants you to walk from is below the Homa Brown, and this place here is too far to walk from here down to the Homa Brown. So he's making it clear that you're going to have to use an alternate means of transportation. Most likely, you would drive. One other thing that I wanted to cover with the stanza while we're looking at definitions and stuff like that. The word begin means to bring or come into being for the first time, arise or originate, to cause to come into being. Okay. So in other words, if I told you to begin a bridge, okay, you're gonna cause something to be created. And that works well in this poem because, like Forrest Fenn said, he felt like an architect making that thing. So you can consider the poem as a blueprint, okay? So he's telling you where to begin it. Now, I'm going to touch on it again because we've discussed it once before. And I said, by the time you get to the stanza, You need to know what it is. All right. And I'm going to try to do it without getting into a solve, but it is basically represented by the condition that the first stanza put forth. So you're going to begin. In other words, this is where he started dropping his breadcrumbs while he was on his way to the chest. You're going to begin at where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, not far but too far to walk, and put in below Noma Brown. When we're following the poem, of course, we're going to be following his breadcrumbs. But remember, we don't know where is yet. So we're probably going to have to come back to the stanza. We still have another variable, okay? We figured out what it is. It is based on the previous stanza. And again, I don't want to get into the solution here. But this it is not necessarily the same as this it. And you're going to find out more about that when we get to the next stanza. However, we're also going to find out more about where in the next stanza. Little Gidding, T.S. Eliot. Remember that. So anyway, if you're enjoying this, please click like, please subscribe. And I look forward to doing the next one. And again, I'm trying not to get into any solutions here. I'm trying to keep it as generic as possible. And I'm going through the grammar in the poem the way Forrest wrote it. I'm not changing anything. I'm not altering the meaning. I'm providing you enough information that you can then go through and actually look up the meaning of these phrases, because now you know the context. Okay. You're not looking up individual words. You're looking up the context. And you got to remember what we learned in the previous stanza and then take that to the stanza. After I'm done with the sixth stanza, I'm going to go back and review, and then we're going to try to make connections between all of the stanzas. And that's kind of where I'm going to cross over into the boundary of working towards a solution. But for right now, we're trying to find out what the poem means. And again, I guess the takeaway from this is you've got two things to do. You're going to begin something at an unknown location right now. We don't know where warm water salt and taking in the canyon down is. We do know kind of what not far but too far to walk means, that he wants us to get from where we begin to a place that we can then walk from. And he's basically telling us to put in or park or go to this place. And that's where we then follow on the rest of the poem with the instructions that are below Noma Brown. Okay. So essentially, we haven't really done any movement. We're still sitting on our couch. We don't need to go anywhere. We're going to need to go once we decide to put in. But we can't put in until we know where that is. And we're not going to know that until we figure out where is. And we're not even going to look at a map at this point, because it'd be a foolish thing to try to go and use your own personal bias to figure out where warm water's halt. Don't do it. Like I said in the other video, the directions to get somewhere really depend on the starting location. Now, in this case, not only do we not know the starting location, we don't know where we're going. Okay. Now think about that long and hard. Usually you're telling somebody where to go. Forrest is not telling us where to go. Okay. He's telling us how to get there. But in order for him to tell us how to get there, he first needs to tell us where to start. I mean, that's just a fact. There's no debating that. And Forrest even said it himself. You've got to know where to start. Otherwise, the directions can lead anywhere. So somewhere, somehow, Forrest has to tell us where to begin it. He has to do that. Otherwise, the poem would not work. It would be impossible. He does not intend somebody to sit there for 100 years and hit the maps and use their own imagination trying to figure out one of the millions of potential places that warm water's halt. And how many canyons are in the Rocky Mountains? And how many of them are that you can walk through and that you can't walk through? How many homes of brown do you have? None of that stuff is going to make any sense until you're at the right starting point. And that's what Forrest meant by the keywords. And people don't have a tight focus, and you really got to know where to start. Because my belief and in my solve, he tells you where to go, where to start, precisely where to start. And once you know where is, okay, you're going to be able to figure out where to start. And T.S. Eliot quote comes into play because you're going to arrive where you began and you're going to know the place for the very first time. Okay. And that all happens incidentally when we get to the blaze, the first round, and when we get to cease in the poem. Okay. Like C.S. Eliot mentions the word cease. Well, to cease, you cease at the end, right? And a lot of you are going to know where I'm going again because the end is the blaze in the poem. Okay. Remember the poem, there are two stories going on here. There's two omegas, two series. The first series is figuring out the poem, find out where to start, just like T.S. Eliot. So once you've solved the first omega, you know where the starting point is. Everything from that point on, when you read the poem, instead of saying begin it where one water salt, you're going to begin it where that location is. So the only thing we've learned is we interpreted this stanza, and of course we know what it means because it was defined the process or the procedure or the steps that we need to take were defined by the previous stanza. That's a fact. And like I said, I challenge anybody to come up with a solve without explaining where it was. And if you're going to come out and say, well, it just means the quest, that's fine. Break the poem down like I did and show me where it means that it's a quest. Show me what the first stanza does. Show me what how does everything work? Remember, we're only using the poem here, and everything is straightforward. There's no subterfuge. There's no grids. There's no removing punctuation. None of that stuff. Everything is straightforward. Anyway, that's it. I hope you all have a good day, and please subscribe and please click like if you like it. Either way, interaction is fine. Okay. I don't usually ask for any tips and stuff like that. So the least you could do is click a like. It doesn't cost you anything. Subscribe doesn't cost you anything. I don't monetize anything. In fact, I only have less than 1,000 subscribers, so I can't monetize anything. So anyway, I hope you all have a good day. And like I said, I enjoy doing this stuff. I hope you're enjoying it too. Catch you next time with stanza 3. Peace.